Good morning. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
Today
Yasmin.
we have Yasmin joining us today. This is our special guest, another close soul sister, bringing you this week's Ascended World. And what we want to talk about this week is, things are have gotten intense very quickly at the collective level.
Right.
And so we
actually intense is a relative word.
Yeah, that is true.
It's like hurry up and stay home.
Right. Well, but you know what the intensity is everybody is like being glued to the TV, being glued to the news, being glued to what media is telling them and believing everything they hear. But we're not going to go into that today. That's really a different, we are, but in a different way.
Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning, Gloria. So, things we've noticed, and we had some very deep work we did this weekend in a little enclave that we did in person, which was beautiful and very productive. And I'm still like electric from it.
Right.
is being very aware, and those of us, especially in the spiritual practices, those of us who are very active in helping others in the spiritual world, and even those who watch this or listen to this who are very active spiritually, right? The thing is that we were talking about the importance of really looking at, it's time to really walk the spiritual talk for all of us, right? We can talk it and talk it and talk it and talk it until we turn blue in the face. But it means nothing if we don't follow that up with the actions and actual existence and habits that go along with it.
Right. We become just another structured hypocrisy.
Yes. Yes. And there's no judgment with those words. This is just
right.
No.
It's just an incongruency.
And we're so used to these expectations, right? So, it's funny what we were saying this weekend. And so this will open up the whole discussion. It's a great conversation. So a group of us months ago had gotten guidance to do these little enclaves, or whatever they're called. I think they're called conclaves, whatever. Once a quarter this year, maybe even more often. And we weren't really guided why, right? It was just sort of like, set it up in person.
Right.
We're all over the country, right? So it's like, okay. So we did. And we had the first one set up for this past weekend. And so look at the craziness that's going on in the world. And the guidance has been to stay centered, right?
Stay the course.
And then, right. And all of us, those of us who went asked our guidance, and our guidance said, go. Mm-hmm. Not only go, but go. So good morning, Sandy. And Sandy Anthony, she was there with us this weekend. Actually, I didn't even think we should have asked her, the others that were there to join us too. She can hear us. We'll turn on your sound.
Right.
So anyhow, and we did. And you know what? I was guided to, my guidance was just go, don't publicize, call who you're guided to call, like reach out to who you're guided to reach out to bring in, to have these conversations, not to only have these conversations, but to do the energy work, to do the collective work, which is what this whole Ascended World thing is about.
Right.
To help in the shifting right now. Right. So
it's that really being the lighthouse.
Yes.
Correct.
It's not running after people. It's like, it's here.
Right. And it's saying, I honor your journey as much as I honor mine. Right.
Right.
And if you choose not to, that's fine. And I am going to follow my choice because my guidance supersedes all. Sorry.
And it might be different for each other.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
And I honor yours with the same passion that I honor mine.
Honor mine.
Right.
Which that just totally turns the table. It's like, I'm as passionate for you as I am for me.
Yes.
Not I'm more passionate for you than I am for me.
Right. 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 And so that's the whole thing. It's it's like, well, everybody's quick to judge. And I see all this out here. Oh, I'm being a good citizen and staying home. I'm being a good, like I'm following the rules and everything else. And it's like, okay, except is that just because your ego is telling you that makes you a good person, that makes you valuable by listening to what others are telling you?
Or it quells your fear.
Right. Or quells the fear, which is where not everybody, a good portion of the mass is lost in fear right now.
Right.
But when you step back in observance, there's very little to fear, if almost nothing to fear right now. Well, there's nothing to fear really, because it's all our creation, right? So when we step back and we look at the creation, it's like, okay, what's there to observe? Like, what is this here to show us, right? And so people are saying, all right, so many are going out there and talking about how it gives us the opportunity with all this and being forced to stay home and limit our activities to actually get rest, to actually do the things that we've wanted to do from our hearts that we haven't because of the ego has told us we had to stay busy to do this and we had to do this way, right?
Right.
And so, and so that is an opportunity, except if you spend all that time glued to the TV, watching the news, glued to social media, watching the news, panicking, sharing the panic, it is actually counterproductive to what the actual higher vibration opportunity that this is giving everyone.
Right.
Right.
And yes, honoring yourself. You know what this is a great opportunity to do is actually listen to our own, like the biggest thing, right, is listening to our own guidance over everything else.
And if your own guidance is stay home, don't go out, don't interact, don't mingle, great.
Right.
And if your guidance is to fly here and participate in this, great.
Right. Right. And there's no fear of, the other thing to remember from a spiritual standpoint, and this is really the walking our talk that's really, really important, is if there is actually such a virus out there, okay, that's going on, and even if it was the bubonic plague, right, when we do the self-work, see, this is the whole thing. This is how it comes to walking the talk, right?
Right.
If we do the self-work, right, eventually what happens, and this is what energy work really is, it is taking control, it's being empowered in your own energy.
Right. It's ownership.
Yes.
Ownership.
And this is my reality, right? This is what we talked about this weekend, right? And it's like, this is my reality. And I created this body, but this is, and this is the thing, is for us to take that ownership and responsibility to say, this is my reality that I've created. This is what I've chosen. We have been doing what Sarah and I have been talking about, getting beyond victimhood for the last several months in all these different areas. This is one of the biggest steps for us to take, is the getting beyond victimhood and saying, I have to do what they tell me to do. And they can be my family, my boss, my doctor, the government, or whatever, right?
Right.
Because when you become clear and centered in your guidance, your journey, your body, your journey, more than anything else, right? And then when we talk about vibration, right? And the thing is, quantum physics, if you want to sit here and go, oh, poo-poo to energy work, right? And this is where we wanted to talk to spiritual, practitioners and energy healing workers that are like that, are still in the fear mode though, right? Is to say, you know what, then where is it to look inside where you don't believe what you do? Because energy work is all about shifting the energy, right, into a different space,
right,
of unconditional love.
And in that space, the virus doesn't exist.
Exactly. No
And
sickness
so,
exists, right?
what did you say?
I said no sickness exists eventually when you get to
Exactly.
a certain vibration,
Right.
Exactly.
and the thing is, okay, so what would necessitate that? If the ego underneath it all is saying, oh, well, I don't think I'm powerful enough to do this. I don't think that I can actually do this. I think I'm a fake, right? That's the imposter syndrome thing.
Right. Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
then we would fall victim to fear and say, oh, well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I do this, but that's all great for headaches and stuff. Yeah, you need to listen to the doctors for this. And it's, or not you. I need to listen to the doctors for this instead of,
Right.
what does my guidance say? Does
Right.
my guidance say
Right.
that this is accurate for me?
Right. Exactly.
You know? Um, and that's the importance of walking our talk. That's the importance of the self-practice. And that's really where we, started this weekend, and the trust. And those who joined us this weekend, we were all like, there were some who did not, right? And that was their own guide, that was their guidance, and that was fine. And it's always perfect. Always perfect.
Always.
Yeah.
Just like everything we're experiencing now is perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect to do what you choose to do, whether that's stay at home, dwell in the fear. If that's perfect for you, that's where you'll be.
Right.
And it's the perfect time. It's the perfect opportunity to do things different.
Right. It is the
Mm-hmm.
perfect opportunity. And so like many people are saying that, and yet then they just still fall into the, oh, it's, the reality is this, even if you want to look at it in a really 3D way, this is a pretty inane flu. I mean, it's a flu, right?
Right.
Do we shut everything down every year for the flu or whatever? And people go, oh, blah, blah. And, the thing is, ask questions. And we're not saying like going out there, and being crazy. Like, unless you're guided to.
Unless you got it.
You're guided to, okay, But World War II started, the whole, we were talking about that this weekend, the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
The Nazis started as, bringing everybody together under the name of a common enemy. And what's the common enemy this time?
A faceless virus.
Yes. So something to just remember, and not get lost in what others are telling us, because that's where we have fallen and crashed so many times, right? And this is the greatest opportunity to step back and say, what does my guidance say, right? And if my guidance says, okay, right now, today, and by the way, check it like every hour, every,
Right.
sometimes, it's like, okay, well, I might be guided to stay home because I might already like have some kind of cold or something that would be like, contagious to somebody else or whatever.
Right.
Right. And yet,
Or I might be more worn down from allergies.
right. Which is,
Yeah.
we're in prime allergy season right now.
Exactly.
Right. So it is what it is. Right. And the other thing is to also honor and respect what everybody else chooses, right? Not like,
Absolutely.
oh, look at that person, like us in the store the other day, that was hysterical. Right.
I mean, I don't know how you ride in a car with two other people and keep 6 feet between you.
It was your
And I guess their suggestion is you don't, you ride alone.
We take 3 separate cars. So anyway, all right, that's being all right. Let's just have levels of our snarkiness.
Lest we regress. Digress.
Anyhow, the real importance, the true importance really is this guidance thing, right? And everyone, like we're saying, oh, what a great opportunity. And then you're spending 5 hours a day looking at the TV or looking at social media and talk, or 80% of our time talking about this, when it's like, what's really funny? In reality, we talked very little about this in terms of everything we worked on this weekend.
Oh, right.
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 Oh,
Because this
definitely.
is just a very 3D, tiny little representation of the bigger goings on that's happening. We are going through a huge shifting period right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's again, I can't, it's that opportunity. It's that opportunity to, okay, you can't, no physical contact, separation. Okay. Find another way to connect with people. whether it's reaching out heart to heart, unspoken. It's that
Right.
opportunity to exercise the muscles that we haven't used in a long time.
Right. And it's also, it is important for us to know and remember that part of so the thing to be always cautious, thing that we were talking about this weekend too, is right, to shift from that place of unity, like the idea of unity, because guess what? The Nazis, they played that one in a big way.
Right.
In World War II, just saying that. Unity to wholeness and oneness, right? Because you and I are one.
Right.
And by the way, if I get the virus, I chose to.
Exactly.
For whatever experience there was for me.
Exactly.
I don't put it on you. I don't put it on anybody else who was on a plane. I don't or someplace else. Or
that's again taking the victimhood out of it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's saying, okay, well, if I get sick, it's my choice.
Right.
As well as the other people's choice.
Right.
If they get it.
Right. And it truly is. So, but part of this is what? It's getting us into the place of knowing we are the ones who create our health, right? So this is the opportunity. The opportunity is, if I don't feel like I'm in charge of my own health, how do I change that so that I become independent?
Right. Right.
And folks, those of us who are watching here or listening, who are spiritual practitioners, this is our calling. This is our calling. It's to help others remember how to do this within themselves. It's not to have people dependent on, listen to what your doctor says, listen to what the news says, listen to what your neighbor says, listen to what I say.
Right.
Right.
But listen to what I say. Hey, Nikki, listen. It's like, listen to what I say, and then step back and ask your guidance. Does it jive with you? Does it jive with your truth?
Absolutely.
That's the step that many of us lose, right? So somewhere along the line, we get the idea, oh, well, now look, they're making us believe that to be valuable, we have to comply, and lock ourselves down and not do this and not do that and stay 6 feet apart and yada, 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 yada. Have you asked your guidance about that? Like, that's the simple question, right? It's funny because this is really, truly throwing the baby out with the bathwater in many ways, right?
Exactly.
And so it's like, okay, how do we do this differently? Because we've gone down this road so many times, and we saw this in our big, we did these amazing, we're calling them transcension sections this weekend, right? And what was the thing that I was very so deeply sad about was that we were just so tired of repeating and cycling again and doing the same thing. And
right.
so, we were putting things in place at the collective level to shift into a new pattern. And so if that's what these things do, if us getting online and talking about this, and we get together, and us getting together, because us getting together had nothing to do with talking to the public. It had to do with us getting together and working at the collective level, because we do trust and know that we are the divine, all of us.
Exactly.
And all of us can change it. And we don't have to do it like at this level. We can do it at different levels. And you know what? So the mind says, well, you can do that remotely, right? Of course we can, except guidance was to do it in person.
Exactly.
And we kept checking.
And we did. We kept checking all the way up to the day that we came, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not only that, but the experience was amazing and beautiful.
It was perfect.
Right? And us getting there was easy. Us getting home was easy. It was like so fluid. Everything flowed so well.
And everything got out of your way.
Everything got out of the way.
All the stores closed that we had plans to go do things.
Yeah.
And and it rained. So we were able to not be distracted and focus.
Yes. And that's really what the guidance was this is important.
Right.
Do this. none of that other stuff. I know you guys like going to the spa and you like doing this and do that, but we've got to do other. This is really important. And that's the urgency right now for whatever reason, right? Of this is important. And if we're called to do it, then do it. Don't shrug back from it and shrink back from it because you're lost in the fear.
And take the time to ask the questions to your guidance to be 100% certain that that's what you're being called to do.
Yes.
Because for me, it was like, okay, again, let's go through this. Because, the doubt and the ego. So it was like constantly going back and all the way, like you say, all the way to the end that day, within hours, is it going? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And you had some challenges that came up that, getting ready to go and stuff like that. But the challenges really were for you to step into your power, to you to step into your own guidance to say, no, guidance is telling me this. And even though others want to make it difficult for me because of their place and where they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
My guidance is to
which I'm
it.
grateful
Yeah.
that I went through that, because stepping out of the comfort zone was so empowering and it felt so good because I was aligned with what I was. It's like I said it, this is a mission for me. So I'm going for it. And it was very peaceful being in that place.
Yeah. Sandy Anthony, who was, like I said, with us, says it was effortless. It was.
Right. Yes.
It was effortless because we knew that's where we were to be. It was to be together to do this work. And then the thing that I loved, the one thing that Sandy Newton said, right, was that the thing about which she had gotten, are you ready to, you wrote it down, do you have it handy?
Actually, I don't, but I think I remember it is, are you ready to see the unseen and unsee the seen?
Yes. And I love that statement. It was so powerful. That's what she got during a session that we were doing. And it was like, and that's something we've been getting for a while, is to stop just depending on our eyes, right? And then stop depending on what other people are telling us.
Right.
So people are like, and to listen to guidance over everything else. And what, Sarah, you and I were talking about this months ago about like creating out of context, without context, right?
Exactly.
And trusting. And to trust, you have to trust your guidance, right? You have to really trust that you have the power and that you do have that knowledge inside of you. And that you do come from a place of love and not ego, and those of us who are there, who have done this and who are feeling called to do spiritual work right now, right? That's really, in many cases, our calling. Our calling is to help everyone get to that place. Because it sounds easy, but it's one of the most challenging things for us to do because it's something we are not in the habit of doing.
Well, and it's also, again, it's like offering the opportunity, not forcing the opportunity, not you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, is to just be that light, be that example, be that vibration. And it will get to a place where people can't look away because you represent something that reaches a place in them that they haven't felt in a long time. They haven't remembered in a long time.
Right.
And then they're going to start asking questions and want to know.
Yes. And the other thing too is there's a lot of questions coming to me. There are a lot of questions that have been coming to me offline about many who are getting, like, it's a real challenge because they do see the bigger picture, right? And they are stepping back and they are asking questions, right? And it doesn't line up. What's going on in the 3D doesn't line up with what is claimed to be going on in the 3D. And so they call me and they go, so, like, I've heard this conspiracy theory and I've heard that conspiracy theory. And, we've sort of alluded to that a couple weeks ago. I think it was last week, the week before, something like that.
In the recent past.
In the recent past. In one of our other recent recordings. And my answer to that is, of course it's going on. Of course there are efforts at population control. Absolutely. That's not what we're here to talk about. And that's not what I'm guided to talk about either.
Right.
Like, and some people might be, and that's great. I know a lot about it, right? I ask all questions all the time. I listen to my guidance. My guidance has actually been pushing that. Sarah and I have been behind the scenes looking at all this stuff because our guidance has kept on pushing that stuff in front of us. Well, and Yasmin is one of the masters that I know.
It's been years.
Yeah, years for you, right?
Yeah.
But it's got such a different purpose now.
What was that, Sarah?
Exactly.
It has such a different purpose now.
Yes. Yes, because what happened was it started in the past 6 to 9 months, a lot of stuff, like conspiracy theory stuff, like around, population control, blah, 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 blah. Efforts and all kinds of stuff kept on getting pushed in front of me. Like and it's been years actually, but I keep on putting it over on the shelf because I'm like, so what?
Right.
Yeah, it's part of the game we play.
Right.
Right. And I keep on going, so what? And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to concern myself with something else. And it'll sit there on the shelf for a little while, and then it comes around again. And then I'm like, I'm going to put it on the shelf. And Yasmin, you're the one that always puts it around in front of me again. Like, oh, have you seen this?
Because I was asking questions too, because,
Yes.
Being so new,
Yeah.
to a certain extent, it was like, okay, do you know about it?
Right. And so and then what, in the past 6 months, it's been crazy. Like, it's just like one thing after the other. Here, look at this, guidance.
Right.
Like, things just keep on falling into my purview. And then I'm like, okay, finally I stopped around, what was it, December, when we went through, in the early December, we went through like some big thing clicked and shifted, right, within the timeline. And I was like, so what? What is there to do? What is there for me to do by knowing this information, by looking at it, by reading about it, by listening, whatever, and seeing it out there, because I have seen it out there, right? And my answer was, so you can navigate it.
Exactly.
Right.
Not to fear it, not to fight it.
Not to feel victim from it.
Yeah. So that I can navigate it on my own journey to free myself into my whole divine power, right? And that's really, I believe, for all of us. So when people call and talk to me, they want to talk about conspiracy theory. It's a really hot thing right now because, well, hate to say, but if everybody really stepped back and looked around, there's a lot more going on that they're paying attention to. But because everybody's so distracted by fear, so that's the first thing they see when they stop being distracted by fear. But then what happens is they see that and then they fall right back into fear, right? Yes. And Nikki says to stay the course of light and love. Exactly. Well, stay the course of being centered and listening to guidance over everything and observance, right? And in a place of love. Yes, absolutely.
Well, and we're being put in a position to where, as our external world keeps getting smaller and smaller, our internal world should be getting bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Well, it's the opportunity to allow our bigger world, inner world, to get bigger.
Right.
It's that opportunity to make that discovery and explore that.
Because nobody can control that.
Right.
Because, by the way, that's us anyway.
Exactly.
You recognize the controllers are just as much as the victim. Like, we're all the same. Like, we're
There's
those
nothing that can be taken away from you there.
Yes.
Right.
That is the wholeness.
Yes.
Not the unity.
Yes.
The wholeness.
The wholeness.
Right.
And the oneness.
No one that has
And
power
the
over
one.
that.
What was that, Sarah?
Yeah.
There's no one that has power over that but you.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, I mean, that's the huge, amazing opportunity that we have put in front of ourselves right now. And the thing that I always tell, one of the things I always remind everyone is when you ask yourself, when you do ask guidance about what to do, right? Be aware of not using the words should, could, need to, must, mustn't.
Have to.
Like even saying, well, what should I be doing? Because that invites the ego in, because all the shoulds and have to and mustn'ts are the ego's way of expressing, right?
Right.
And that's the energy and the emotion of the ego. So when we're really wanting to tap into and so the ego listens very carefully. And as soon as you say, what should I do? The ego says, oh, you're asking me.
Right.
I'll tell you what you should do, right? Or what you need to do. Where guidance says, this is what there is to do, period.
Right.
Right. And so Sandy says, and while we're staying the course of light and love, we embrace the darkness as part of the wholeness and love. Right, exactly. It's all us, all of us.
Even the virus.
So when we were doing these transcension sessions, what I loved was when we took Yasmin down. This is like, it's sort of like taking a past life regression and amping it up about 1,000 times, because we went all the way to beyond individual and collective to a very high level of consciousness. And when we took Yasmin there, like, and she saw the representations of these archways, and she's like, and she had the choice to go through one, and she's like, the darkest one, that's the one I'm going through.
Right.
And I was, you go, girlfriend.
It felt good too.
Yeah, it was, and it was great. Yeah, it was a powerful, powerful session, right? So,
Right.
So, you know, the thing is, coming to that acceptance, and that's what we've been talking about forever. That is what our core, you know, our core lesson in spirituality is the remembrance that the dark is us as much as the light.
Right.
And it's our
wholeness.
In the wholeness, right? And it's
nothing is left out of the wholeness.
No. And when we accept that, so then people say, oh, well, then that just, like, you know, that'll increase it. No, it actually makes it lose its power, because the darkness is created through separation and resistance and fear and pushing aside, and the darkness gets power from that, and or it grows, or however you want to look at it. And when we look at it and say,
it denies a portion of you.
Exactly. Right. Because we are created in that. We're created, we create ourselves in this separation, which means that there's darkness in us.
Right.
In our individuals, right? And that's part of the beauty of what we've created in the wholeness. And to say, when you turn to it and you say, hey, I love you, I honor you, the darkness, as much as I honor the light in me.
Right.
Then it all loses its power and just becomes whole.
Right. It's like Nikki refers to. It's like their definitions are intertwined, so you can't have them one without the other. Like the yin and the yang.
Right. In duality, light was created through the creation of darkness.
Well,
and darkness was created through the creation of light.
Right.
In duality, because it's all in that wholeness. Right. So. And in duality, you can't have one without the other. In wholeness, it doesn't even, you have it all, or it doesn't.
There is no light, there is no dark. There just is.
It's
not separated. It's
right. Exactly. There's no difference. So, you know, that's what's important for us to step back and look at. What is it that I'm fearing is what there is to look at. Like if I say, so here's another tricky word, right? Is concern. I have concern about this. I'm concerned about this.
Right.
That is ego-based as well.
Well, that's a message to say, hey, this needs your attention, but not in the way you typically think.
Right. Because if you have concern about it, that means you have a fear, right? And when you step back to say, well, what do I fear? And you look at that, then you say, okay, if I observe this, well, what is this showing me?
Right.
Right. And then it's like, oh, if I don't believe that I have power of my own creation, that I don't know how to, or that sickness can take me over. And oh, by the way, the biggest fear is that I'm going to die. So what does Sandy have to say? Reminds me when I worked with a lady with cancer, and she kept saying, I hate cancer. I hate cancer. My guidance, I don't have my reading glasses on, guys, so help me out.
My guidance was to help her embrace those parts of herself and love, because the cancer was part of her. And it was also a creation of hers.
Exactly. And it was to show all of the anger or fear or something that was held inside her body and as a toxin for so long it became cancer. That's really what cancer is, right?
It needed her attention.
Yes. To look at something that had been ignored and pushed aside and closeted for so long that it caused sickness. That's really what happens. And when we believe something can take us over and make us a victim, that's what a virus is.
Exactly.
And so maybe the biggest lesson here is maybe we've been talking about victimhood and overcoming victimhood, transcending victimhood for months now in different areas, right? So it's like, this is the ultimate test for ourselves to say, okay, you know, it's funny because there are some people like, and there's no judgment. The thing is, we're in such the habit of allowing ourselves to get sick that we just are so entrained in the body to think that we have to.
Well, and I mean, we've even made seasons out of it. Oh, it's flu season. Oh, it's cold season. It's this, just like it's inevitable.
It's allergy season, right? Yeah.
Just like the seasons. It's going to happen. Get ready. It's like, or not.
Mm-hmm.
Or not. Or not. And it's when you accept that within ourselves, and that, so here's the cycle for those who are not adept and understanding of what energy healing is about. And if you, like I said, if you really want to know more about it and you think you need a scientific basis for this, look at quantum physics, because it shows you the entire thing laid out very easily. Pretty mind-blowing stuff. It's actually pretty cool when you see it laid out that way. But you know, I mean, I just totally lost the train of thought. How to do with sickness.
You said quantum physics.
Yeah, I was talking about sickness. It's like,
the vibration.
It's all vibration, right? It's all about vibration and what we align with. And when you look in quantum physics, is our thoughts are actually a huge amount. Like, so quantum physics can show you how your thoughts are a huge amount of your creation, of your reality, right? And if you see something that's out there, a possibility, right? Because there's an infinite amount of possibilities in creation. If you see something that's out of there and you put fear to it, you give that thing power to be manifested into here, right? And so and then when you align with, when it's funny because they can show you in graphs, it's crazy how, like, when you align with fear, then the waves of frequency start to align with the waves of that possibility, which then higher the probability and to bring it here. When you look at it and say, yeah, I see that as a possibility, I choose something else.
Right. Exactly. It's like if you had that power, if you had full understanding of that power, why would you choose to bring that to you? Choose to bring something to you that you actually do want, not that you fear.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Nikki says, boy, do I feel so much better. All these folks around me freaking out. And here I am knowing everything's okay. It's so awesome to connect with the light.
Right.
That's the whole, really. It's connecting with the whole.
Right, the whole.
Yes, and we do need to continue to connect. It is great for us to continue to connect because it keeps us, and that's why I think a lot of us are, you know what, I'm going to go against the grain here. A lot of us are getting guided to get together in person and do these little private enclaves, because that's where we get called to do work together for the collective, the higher consciousness, and to be really undistracted by you should, you need to, you can't, and da-da-da-da. And it's not a promotional thing. It's not, like, it's not a publicized thing. It is, go and do this.
Right.
And these are your soul partners that are going to do this particular thing with you, right? Because you agreed to, right? Sometimes you got to do stuff by yourself. Sometimes you got to do with other people. But if you think about, like, the other thing that's really important is, it is really important for us to stay connected and connect at the heart level. Even if we go out and connect inside every day, like to the whole and everything else.
Well, and connecting with yourself at that level of wholeness does connect you to everyone and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, and the thing is, when we live in fear, it separates us, right? Absolutely. We then fear each other.
Right. It's inevitable.
Look at what's happening. Look at what happened in Whole Foods the other day. So we're standing, I'm going to tell the story because it was such a great story. So we were in Whole Foods the other day, the three of us, and we're standing around a small cart, and we had been eating chocolate-covered almonds before we came to the store. And Sarah had a piece of almond stuck in her throat, which made her cough. And so she was coughing in the car, and then we're standing there. She goes, oh, God, I still have that piece of almond stuck in the back of my throat. And we were standing at the butcher about 3 or 4 feet behind the person in front of us, right? But we're still on the cart. And Sarah had to step up and start coughing because she was trying to get it off her throat. At that, the woman who is in front of us turns around and looks at us and goes, you're not doing the 6 foot separation thing that they're recommending. And we were like, what?
Yeah, we really didn't understand whether she meant the 6 feet between us or the 6 feet between us and her.
Right. Or it was between us because we were standing around the cart. And I think all three of us sort of tilted our head like a dog, like, what? But see, and we laugh about it. But the thing is, that's really, like, that makes us, like, look at what we're acting like.
Well, and if I hadn't coughed, I doubt she would have said
yes, that was the point. Had you not coughed, nothing probably would have been said, right? But everybody, like, so many people are living from fear. It's like, wow. Because, and even, like, you know, I've talked to multiple people like, God, I go to the store and if I cough, I feel like, oh my God, everyone's going to look at me and like shun me out or something. It's like, oh my gosh, really? Heaps. We've got viruses around us all the time. We've got colds. We've got, what was that?
And bacteria.
We've got it everywhere. In fact, that's why we have immune systems.
Right. And probiotics are bacteria.
Yeah.
They're just the good ones.
Right. Right. And the thing is, so like when we get to the, so right, getting out of our snarkiness now. The point was how we get in fear of each other. And then that separates us. And then it's easier to be controlled, by the way.
Right.
Because then you're motivated by fear and others know you're motivated by fear and they know how to control you. Right. And the point is, we have cycled through this so many times. It's time for us to do it differently. How do we do it differently? Right. And so that's the whole vibration thing. That's the whole going inside. And people say, well, how do you do that? You start by meditating, right? You start by going inside, you quiet the chatter, step away. All right. Start from even before meditating, step away from the TV, shut it off.
Right. Start with the basics.
Stop watching the news.
Take time. Yeah, take the time that if we're being, or people are feeling like they need to stay home, take this time and this moment to take that practice. And
I mean, many people are picking up stuff, putting it online for people to be able to use that. That's the positive side of this, right? That's the great part, that there's, you know, my mom she teaches line dancing at the senior center by her. She does Tai Chi, she does pottery. So right now she's getting a little like antsy because she's home. She's like, oh, I'm taking this dance class from this like guy down in Florida who's got like a professional troupe and blah, blah, blah. And she's like excited to be able to do that. So there's a lot of people who are doing things like that. We're going to start, for anybody who's listening or watching, we are going to start probably tomorrow. I think because we were going to do it Monday and then we were like, no, because we do our recording Monday. We're going to start tomorrow doing daily, like half-hour meditations online. We're going to rotate through different people who have different kinds of flavors of ice cream and giving the opportunity for people to meditate and quiet down and just give them different ways to do that. Just for free so that you can get a flavor, because that to me is what I'm getting called to do. That's what I'm getting called to help people do, is to shut it down. And we've got the Trinity One class. That's all about going inside, to getting dependent on your own guidance and to be transcendent to the 3D stuff or whatever. So Nikki says, we've been locked down here in Michigan. I'm kind of glad about it. I don't have to pick up the fear. It's all good. Yeah. Well, let's see. Dallas County got locked down right after we left yesterday.
Well, it starts at midnight tonight.
Yeah. So funny that originally we were going to be coming back today. Right. And our guidance was to change our flights to last night. And so we did. And then it's funny that then the lockdown happened. I was like, look at that. Guidance again totally helped us to have the clear path along the way. No problems. You did what you came here to do. Now, you have a clear path to go to home. Right. To what you're to do next.
Right. The skies were clear. The runways were clear. Security was clear.
Yeah.
The flights were on time. Actually, I got home earlier and you did too.
I got home early. Yeah. Early. Crazy. Yep. Early.
Right.
So, it's when you do listen to guidance, I've found the more you listen to guidance. So the biggest thing for us, to go back to what Yasmin was saying, is that the biggest challenge in our own listening to our own guidance, learning how to listen to it, is first it's shutting down the chatter. you know, and then just finding that way that works for you. There's so many different ways to do it, right? But also, and then there's doing the inner work, which I always, you know, and that's the Training One class, which would probably be good to put one up or so. Like we could do that, each one now, or a bunch of them. But also, because it covers the whole scope of this, but then also, then you get to the challenges of overcoming the habitual things that the ego always falls into for a comfort zone, right? That was what Yasmin went through. It's like, oh, well, you know, these people are concerned, or I have this, or this is coming up, like, or this is coming up as a blockage, or people are telling me not to go, right?
Right.
And then you have to step.
You care about.
Right.
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 And then you step back, and the thing is to step back and say, okay, well, I appreciate your concern, and I'm going to ask my guidance, and I'm going to listen to that, because that's really the way to honor my journey the most. And if you respect and love me truly, then you will honor that as well, as I honor yours.
As I honor yours.
Right. And sure, you can be concerned about me. That's not going to stop me from doing what I'm guided to do.
Right.
Because I'm not concerned about you, because your journey is your journey, and it's your choice, and I love you and honor that.
Right.
You know, it's a completely different way of existing. And the thing is, for those of us who are in the spiritual community, who, like, this is our calling.
Right.
This is our calling, is to help to change this pattern of losing to the ego, and making decisions based on others, on what others tell you versus what your inner voice tells you. Not the chatter voice, not the ego voice, but not the should voice or the need to voice.
Not the little leprechaun.
Not the little leprechaun, right? Or the little gingerbread man.
Right.
As Yasmin saw it. So, and we do have quite an attachment to it, as we just got looked at as the collective this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And changing things. We have such an attachment to how we've done things and whatever. And there's
we
nothing.
Loved it. We loved everything about this.
Absolutely. Yes. It came up. It's like that sadness of letting go of things, because we actually loved it, and we're so used to it. And now it's so different, and you know, and accepting it as is too.
Right. So I think for today, it is really to help anyone watching or listening to shift, to do. Oh, and so what we were saying is, when you're asking your guidance, instead of saying, do I need to do this, or should I do this, or whatever, is to ask, is this for me to do
right now?
Right now. Is this for me to do right now?
Right.
It's very non-emotional. It's non-subjective. Non-egoic, and the higher voice, the higher consciousness will tell you yes or no. Right. And the answer comes just as calmly as if you say, is this for me to do? Because isn't it funny how the energy of the statements changes from when you say, do I need to do this, to, is this for me to do? That's significantly different in energy, right? Because need sort of like gets you a little angsty, a little, you know, whatever.
Well, it comes from that place of lack. Like, I acknowledge that I'm not complete.
Right.
Which, you know, right off the bat, you're setting yourself up for an answer that comes from a place you're not looking for it to come from.
Right. So when you change it to, is this for me to do? There's no emotion in that. It's just a question. And so then you get the answer from the higher self. It's like yes or no. Not a, oh, and here's the other thing. When you hear the voice inside that says, oh yeah, you got to do that, and that's ego, right? So if you just get the yes or the no, like when I was asking to go, it was like every time I'd ask, okay, is this for me to go? Is it for me to go? And I would just it was like I couldn't even finish asking the question to myself, and it was like yes. And then I would like see a big green light in my head kind of thing, and be like, yes, go. So, and that's because I have done every day. I commit myself to my inner work, to my inner focus, to my inner dependence. And so I trust it. And the more you do it, the more you trust it.
And the more time people have now
to
begin that journey.
Yes. And by the way, it makes things more efficient once you can do that.
And imagine the example you're setting for your children who have nothing to do but observe you.
Exactly. Well, and your spouse, and, you know, and whoever else, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so I think maybe for this today, it's being able to shift ourselves to observe, right? Which I know we've done before, but people, like, I think we all still need that, like, to stay in observance, right? And transcendence, fear, and all that kind of stuff. And in that, open ourselves, open our hearts to connect truly via guidance over everything else, right? And please commit to turning off the news. Most of the people I know who are staying pretty calm and whatever just don't watch the news and whatever, because it's, by the way, they get paid for their ratings. So, like, I don't know, people don't realize that they sensationalize stuff so that, you watch. And by the way, then it controls, and then the government gets involved. It's just like this whole big cycle that we've done, and it's time to be done with that. So being able to open your heart, to transcend the fear, to be in a place of observance, to walk our talk, to really truly trust our own guidance, to remember to ask guidance before anything you even hear, to step back and say, okay, is this for me? Is this for me to do? To be very to know the words that will keep you in that higher guidance versus ego guidance. And this is this is a lot to tie up into one little thing, but to open our hearts to be committed to doing that in every choice that we make from a place of love and wholeness. That feels really good. All right, let's go do that. Ready? And for anybody watching or listening, you just step back, and if you want to be a part of this energy session for the collective, it's closing your eyes, take a deep breath, and just be open to receive. So that was pretty rocky in the beginning, but it smoothed out at the end. Oh, I could feel it was almost like I had rocks in my heart from the beginning. I was like, oh, what? At the collective level, and I was like, shh.
Right.
And then as those things were like pulled out, it was like, oh, yeah, that feels good. Do you guys see anything you want to share?
Man, it just seemed like a bunch of images just flashing by, and it's almost like, when you're looking out the car window and you're trying to focus on one thing, and then you just get to the point where it's just like a big blur, and it's so much easier because you're not trying to focus on every little thing, and it just seemed to calm down and just get really peaceful, and that just comfortable, a new level of comfortable.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Anything, Yasmin?
It was, I was feeling it physically. It was very rocky in the beginning. It took me a few breaths to calm into it, but it was more like holding that space and being open, like you said, being open to receive that peace in the midst of all of it.
Oh, there's a yawn. All right, everyone, stay in love. Take this time that you have this week and focus on your inside, on your guidance. Find a way. Come be a part of the meditations with us. We will get probably an event up today. Well, we have to get an event up today if we're going to start tomorrow. So we'll get an event up today. We'll start tomorrow. I think we had talked about, did we talk about a time yet?
Well, I think we discussed maybe doing around lunchtime.
Right, but because of different time zones is going to vary. So I think we were going to do like 1 o'clock Eastern time, because then that's like noon Central. It's still like, 10. It's still like not too early on the West Coast. Well, it is sort of early, but it's a good start to the day. And over in Europe, it's a good evening thing. So, actually it's probably a pretty good time. So we'll probably do about 1 p.m. daily.
And it'll be on the Ascended World page, right?
Yes, on the Ascended World page. So look for the event and the postings, and just come join us on Ascended World at 1 o'clock on Eastern, 1 o'clock Eastern daily. Okay. We'll see. And otherwise, this is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg Evagnoni
and
Yasmin.
signing off on this week's Ascended World. We'll see you next time. Bye.